Welcome to Smash Fiction, the podcast where we pit two or more fictional characters against one another in a battle of strength, or wits, or gay angels, and argue who would win. This week, Kefka versus Sephiroth. "32 years ago, the legendary meat puppets asked a question that lingers to this day. Where do bad folks go where they die? Most people, including the meat puppets themselves, would say hell or describe some variant of the Lake of Fire, but two particularly bad folks, Kefka and Sephiroth, the most sinister forces of evil ever to cast their clown-colored or one-winged shadows, respectively, over the least final of all fantasies, have recently learned that hell would be a walk in the flaming ash-covered park in comparison to the afterlife to which they have been consigned. You see, in a last-ditch attempt to increase profits in a world of PC and console gaming, Litwax Arcade has recently installed a new game that it hopes will bring the kids running. Unfortunately for Litwax, the game is an ill-conceived competitor to Marvel vs. Capcom with the dubious title of Malibu Comics vs. Square Enix. And even more unfortunately for Kefka and Sephiroth, their souls have been sentenced to an eternity of combat against people with names like Hardcase, Elvin, and Sludge. Truly, God is a vengeful deity. But Kefka and Sephiroth aren't taking this shit. They're practically gods themselves, damn it, and one fateful day, while being utilized in the game's tag team mode, they get their chance. Their opponents are the male and female versions of the character Mantra, and a bug in the game results in these two bickering incessantly, giving the Final Fantasy villains a chance to peace out. Using their magical abilities, they are able to find an exit from Malibu Comics vs. Square Enix, and find themselves in a strange place known as Game Central Station. Standing before the entrance to Sugar Rush 2, Gone in 60 Sprinkles, Kefka and Sephiroth agree to part ways as amiable enemies, and each begins to search for a new game in which to spend their unexpected afterlives. As fate would have it though, these two are not done with each other. Well, blame fate or blame these guys' similar taste in video game aesthetics, because mere moments after Kefka enters a game called Dungeons & Dragons Tower of Doom,
yes,
Sephiroth, on the other side of Game Central Station, chooses to enter Dungeons & Dragons Shadow over Mystara. As a result, both villains suddenly find themselves in a place whose original name was simply The Known World. That's right, this matchup is taking place in the first ever D&D campaign setting, so just drink and keep drinking, motherfuckers. Anyway, turns out this place is the fucking Fordlandia of fantasy worlds. It's been 20 years since anyone has put out so much as one lousy adventure module featuring Mystara. Its heroes and villains alike have long since gone to greener pastures, taking with them any tomes, treasure, or magic items worth taking. The only people left are a bunch of lame-ass NPCs living in terror of the random monster generator. Perfect, Sephiroth thinks. There's nobody here to prevent me from dominating all I survey. Perfect, Kefka thinks. There's nobody here to prevent me from destroying all I survey. Each is so lost in his own sadistic thoughts that they're not watching where they're going. Suddenly, they bump into each other. They stare at one another for a moment. Their eyes narrow. Which power-hungry lunatic can kill the other one and win the freedom to do horrible things to the poor, abandoned people of Mystara? I don't know. That's why I, Miles Schneiderman, am your button-mashing judge this week. Arguing for Team Kefka are Colin Mulcairn
So great.
and Dan Mulcairn.
Why do you build knowing destruction is inevitable? Why do you learn to live knowing all things must die? Why do you think knowing that you must yell?
That's deep.
I don't know. Damn, I gotta go think about this. Oh wait, no,
you
I have
must
to yell
yell.
about it instead, yes. Arguing for Team Sephiroth are Kit Mulcairn
Whether your words are lies created to deceive Miles, or the truth that he has sought all his life, it makes no difference. Kefka will rot.
and Liz Logan.
Liz intensely stares into the mirror, flipping her long silver wig that she got for a great deal on Etsy while slicing the air with her katana.
Is that from your biography?
When we make a website, that will be your biography page.
To determine who goes first, I challenged both teams to a few games of Tekken Tag, but since literally nobody beats me at Tekken Tag, neither team really won. But Kit and Liz landed more lucky shots, so they'll be going first. So,
I always play the kangaroo.
so we will start with Team Sephiroth. Team Sephiroth, Will you ever be a memory?
First things first, always gotta get this out of the way. We have the best hair. Sephiroth has everything going for him. Killer bod, only needs one wing to fly. He's got sweet alien cell juice, a sword that is so totally longer than yours, what I like to call super soldier special skills, and he knows what he wants to do when he grows up. So that's cool. This guy is such a degree of I don't want to fuck with him that he was able to stab and murder a carefree, adorable young woman and get away with it. He destroys villages, creates diseases, kills presidents, etc., etc. He is hell-bent on fulfilling his destiny, and given the previous examples, doesn't stop at much when it comes to achieving his goals. Sephiroth is a master of combat and of killing in general. He is always cold, calm, and calculating, and not really crazy. When people say he starts to go nuts, it's not really that. He just does a lot more horrible, brutal things a less motivated person wouldn't do. There's a reason he is rated as one of the hardest bosses in all of video game history. Some have even claimed that the rest of Final Fantasy VII isn't as hard as Sephiroth is. Haha. That was my dick joke. A lot of that stems from his crazy soldier training and the fact that Sephiroth is a mystery to many of the people out there to stop him. Even the way he holds his katana, Masamune, is in a stance designed to mask just how far he can strike with his sword, so he always has an advantage. Not to mention, that katana can cut through anything and be used as a pseudo-energy beam weapon where his swings are energy charged. He doesn't only need his sword though. He can shapeshift, teleport, and cast magic. He can rain down meteors, barrier himself, and bring Kefka's HP down to 1 instantly, and then finish him off with a flurry of katana strikes. He repeatedly takes down highly trained operators that went through the same soldier program as him, like butter. I mean, Sephiroth has been shown to be a multi-face being and a vehicle for Genova, a ridiculously powerful alien. You kill this one body of Sephiroth, who's to say he won't pop up again via someone summoning him or through Genova starting to meddle with something or some shit. He doesn't even need to breathe or blink. That's at least like a 2-second head start on any garbage Kefka is going to be trying to pull. I mean, even after all these games and movies, no one considers Sephiroth dead. He's simply too strong to ever be truly done in for. Come on. As Miles said, his last words are, "I will never be a memory." I mean, if anything, Kefka's horrible choice in clothing will make him stand out instantly for Sephiroth's massive katana to slice right through him. Kefka's horrible choice in laughing would also do the trick. Kefka is so wrapped up in Kefka that he can't even pause to think past himself, and that's what Kefka likes. Being a kid with a magnifying glass in the park burning ants. But Sephiroth isn't an ant. Sephiroth will calculate the fuck out of Kefka and take him out surgically. Kefka is basically a shitty, less better Sephiroth. He's also infected with something, magic, like Sephiroth is with alien juice, but he goes absolutely psycho, whereas Sephiroth is still able to maintain his previous personality and his calm demeanor, but gets more brutal. Kefka kills some Imperial general chump who probably sits on his butt more than fights on his feet, poisons the water of an unsuspecting city. Remember, Sephiroth isn't even shown to have bodily function, so that's not gonna work. And, oh lordy, some pompous emperor couldn't kill him. Big deal. Kefka has never had to take on someone that actually had their shit together. I mean, Kefka isn't even totally self-sufficient in Final Fantasy VI. He had to ride the coattails of Emperor Gestalt and only became the big baddie after living out the long con with him. In this fight, there is no place or time for a long con. Kefka's nihilism is gonna be his undoing. He is shown to be blinded by it. Crazy with the desire to destroy everything. He can't even think straight. This is shown in how, in his final form, he always uses Heartless Angel as his first attack, which reduces the party's HP to 1, as if to laugh at how little hope his enemy has. Well, Sephiroth, being the faster combatant, would obviously go first and would have already brought Kefka's HP down to 1 as well. Since Kefka can't even cast his most powerful attacks, like Forsaken, since it needs to charge up first, Sephiroth could attack with an Octoslash, and since the Masamune, according to Final Fantasy lore, is more powerful than an Ultima weapon, it would ignore defense, and Sephiroth could kill Kefka in 1 turn outright. This is an actual strategy in Final Fantasy VI for killing Kefka in his final form, the most powerful form. And the fact that haste is super effective against Kefka's final form, and Sephiroth is known for being blindingly fast, so that just adds to his power over that stupid clown.
Unlike Kefka, Sephiroth wasn't permanently destroyed, just delayed, which is why he returned in Advent Children. Oh, and he didn't die at the end of that movie either. While Sephiroth aspired to be a god, I argue that he actually achieved that goal better than Kefka, the so-called god of magic, slaughtered by men. In utero, Sephiroth's cells were combined with the cells of a massively powerful alien entity that travels from planet to planet, killing everything, known in the story as Genova. This caused him to become the greatest soldier ever known, with superhuman attributes in strength, speed, endurance, etc. He was like an anime version of Captain America. He could do crazy shit like jumping in midair, fall conveniently slow, like he always had Featherfall cast on him. And as Liz pointed out, he mastered the use of a 7-foot-long Nodachi sword. A blade that long is normally no good for melee, but this literal crazy bastard mastered this sword to the point where he could take on multiple powerful and skilled opponents at once at very close range and way far off long range, using the blade both offensively and defensively, and all without a single hair falling out of place. By the time the heroes confront the real Sephiroth, after he manipulates them into giving him the planet-destroying weapon he's been looking for, he has become horrifically, planet-destroyingly powerful, both physically and magically, from absorbing the planet's lifestream. If you're wondering what I mean, don't worry, it's just as magically nonsensical as the way Kefka gains his powers. I will spare you, Miles.
Thank you. I appreciate that, kid. +1.
Yay!
Audience, that grinding sound you may hear in the background is Miles grinding his teeth together at having to judge a match which is so blatantly video gamey and anime-y at the same time.
I gotta be honest, guys, I've already stopped listening.
By the end, fighting Sephiroth and Kefka in the games might feel similarly brutal, but when you compare them side by side, you'll find that Sephiroth is far and away the more impressive of the two. Kefka put all his eggs into his magic basket, so to speak. But the problem there is that Sephiroth has similarly potent world-ending magic, except that he's also stronger and tougher and faster, because he's part world-eating alien and obviously doesn't skip leg day at the gym. In the game Dissidia, Kefka himself says that Sephiroth was made for combat. The magic in Final Fantasy doesn't change much from setting to setting, so who is actually more godlike here? In the game Crisis Core, it's revealed that Sephiroth's genes do not degrade, and we see this proven when he comes back again and again. In Final Fantasy VI, Kefka, straight up, dies. Some god. Good for him, though, because maybe he can finally get a break from that damn nihilism of his. Sephiroth is driven unflinchingly by the belief of his grand destiny, whereas Kefka is troubled by his narcissism coming into conflict with his nihilism. Narcissists have a deep need for admiration, which is what motivates Kefka's ascension to God of Magic. But when he's a god and there are still people who oppose him after all he's done, he questions the meaning of life even more than he did before. Because where do you go from being a god? Sephiroth has a never-ending goal of wanting to convert the planet into a vessel, so that he can go from world to world, conquering them like Jenova had. Whereas Kefka is at the point where he's a few small steps away from suicide. In Dissidia, after Terra defeats Kefka, he gives one last pathetic monologue and asks, "Why cling to life knowing you have to die?" before he self-destructs. Terra then comments that all his destruction was an attempt to fill his broken heart. Kefka's just another clown that wants to watch the world burn. But Sephiroth has grander plans than that sad sack nihilist. Kefka's mind and emotions are like a bag of cats, but Sephiroth is focused and cool as a cucumber. And if you've been on the internet, you know how cats feel about cucumbers. Your Honor, Your Honor, I rest my weird case.
That was a weird case.
Because it is a requirement for the scenario I set up, the judge will clarify that Sephiroth is in fact dead. However, the judge also acknowledges that Sephiroth has inherently better hair and will allow Sephiroth the edge unargued in hair and rocking body. So, on to Team Kefka. There's a reason oppose rhymes with dispose, guys. Mercy is for wimps.
For the record, I just want to point out the reason that Kefka wears his shirt when he's in the pool is not because he's embarrassed about his body. He's very sensitive to the sunlight. It's very
We've already addressed this issue. We're going to move on from the body point. That's
okay.
Team Sephiroth. Sorry. I also wanted to say, I meant to say this at the beginning of the matchup, but for purposes of this episode, there is no issue whatsoever in comparing your characters to gods.
Yeah.
Just so we're clear.
Kefka Palazzo is, simply put, one of the most dangerous and unpredictable characters that we've ever talked about in the history of this podcast. At 16 years old, an experimental procedure transformed him into the world's first Magitech Knight, which gave him incredible magical powers, but also completely shattered his sanity. Now, there are only 3 things in life that make Kefka happy: playing with dolls, dressing like a clown, and murdering people. Kefka's 2 main strengths that we see him displaying again and again throughout Final Fantasy VI are his ruthlessness and his creativity. He speaks to King Edgar of Figaro because he suspects that Edgar is hiding the half-Esper Terra in his castle, and Edgar refuses to give her up. So Kefka calmly walks away and then proceeds to set Castle Figaro on fire. When Kefka is attempting to gain access to Castle Doma, rather than attack it head-on, he decides instead to poison the castle's water supply, which then kills nearly everyone inside, including numerous women and children. When pouring his poison into the river, Kefka says, "Hee hee, nothing can beat the sweet music of hundreds of voices screaming in unison." Eventually, another one of the Emperor's generals, General Leo, thinks that Kefka has gone too far, so he stands up to fight Kefka. General Leo defeats Kefka. or at least he thinks he does. Turns out that what Leo was fighting was actually a magical decoy that Kefka created in his own image. One that, mind you, was actually solid and able to put up a pretty good fight against Leo. So General Leo, thinking that he had killed Kefka, turns around to see what he thinks is Emperor Gestal, his boss, and he goes up to talk to him, but it turns out that, surprise, it's actually Kefka, who shapeshifted into the Emperor to get close enough to Leo to stab him in the chest, and needless to say, that was the end of General Leo. So notice how in all of these examples, Kefka never solves his problems in a straightforward manner. He avoids direct fighting whenever possible, instead always opting to play as dirty as possible. And we're just getting started. Throughout the first half of Final Fantasy VI, Kefka acts subservient to Emperor Gestal, who for a while you are led to believe is going to be the actual main villain. The two of them have this plan to become all-powerful by gaining control of these 3 stone statues on a mysterious floating continent in the sky. You know, standard video game villain stuff. A ragtag band of heroes hop in their airship and fly up to stop Gestal and Kefka from disturbing the statues. And there's this big epic fight, and the heroes win and the world is saved, right? Actually, no. You see, earlier, Kefka killed a bunch of these creatures called espers, which are like magically engineered monsters that are created to be the ultimate weapons in an ancient conflict between the warring triad, or among the warring triad, whatever. These beings that later became those stone statues. So Kefka killed a bunch of these espers, which is quite a feat in and of itself, and he absorbed all their powers, and so when the heroes show up, he magically zaps all the heroes and they get frozen in place, and then he starts screwing around with the big statues, and the Emperor's like, hey dude, careful, you know, if you keep doing that, it's gonna like destroy the world, and we probably shouldn't do that. We're trying to rule the world and not destroy it, right? And Kefka's like, has anyone ever told you that your hair makes you look like an Afghan hound? And so the Emperor tries to kill Kefka with his magic, but it doesn't work. Kefka shoves the Emperor off the floating continent and he plummets to his death. And then Kefka keeps screwing with the statues, knocking them out of alignment. And while the heroes stare at him helplessly, Kefka absorbs the powers of the warring triad and then kinda destroys the world? The game then fast forwards to a year later, when the happy, green, grassy world that we got in the first half of the game is replaced by a barren, post-apocalyptic husk. To put it in terms that I know Miles will understand, the world has moved on.
Oh.
Objection, pandering.
Overruled. Continue.
It's okay.
Continue pandering.
He's submitting Miles to this freaking story. I win. Miles, how do you not have an aneurysm already?
All I know so far is the world has moved on.
Yes.
Continue.
All of the continents have been reshaped, a huge chunk of the world's population is dead, and the few people that remain now worship the all-powerful Kefka like he's some sort of... Okay, so... For those who don't know...
It's okay, Colin.
Oh, okay, well, here's the thing. People use the G word a lot in the game to refer to Kefka. But you know what? If I were the sort of person who would use that word, then this would be the appropriate time to use it. But I'm not such that person. I have my principles, so... Anyway,
Stick to him, man.
The remaining people of the world now worship the all-powerful Kefka like he's some sort of, shall we say, higher power.
Yes, I believe we shall.
And the people of the world now live in constant fear of angering this new, shall we say, omnipotent celestial, because he sees all, he sits atop this gigantic tower that he built from the rubble of the world that was, and if anyone upsets them, he smites them with what he calls the Light of Judgment, a magical attack that can reduce entire cities to ashes. So that makes Kefka one of the few villains in any video game, let alone any work of fiction pretty much, to successfully pull off his master plan and cause a legit apocalypse and become the unquestioned ruler of the wasteland that remains. I mean, yeah, he dies eventually, the heroes kill him, but we all die eventually, man. Sephiroth dies too. He never got a chance to become, shall we say, a figure of worship.
So, full disclosure on this one, I'm a little bit of a Sephiroth fanboy. Okay, maybe a lot of bit of a Sephiroth fanboy. FF7 came out when I was in middle school, so you'll have to forgive my fixation on the cool, confident, silver-haired swordsman with an awesome coat. Whenever I play Dissidia, the Final Fantasy fighting game, I always play as Sephiroth. I do a lot of matches where I fight random opponents, and out of the over 20 characters in the game, the one character I hate going up against is Kefka. Kefka is way too fast, super effective at range, and delights in countering any attack that Sephiroth can pull off. His attacks are aggravatingly unpredictable, and it doesn't seem to matter how fast I run at him or how quick I am on the button mashing, he always seems to be 3 steps ahead of me, laughing the whole way. That's how this match is going to go for my silver-haired man crush today. Sephiroth possesses a crippling superiority complex. His confidence is overwhelming, perpetual, and ultimately self-destructive. When he was a soldier, creature, he believed himself to be the greatest warrior on the planet. When he learned he was part alien, he thought he was a chosen one, destined to wander the stars. We see that this deluded sense of supremacy leads him to making gigantic tactical missteps, which will allow Kefka to dance circles around him before snuffing him out. Shortly after Sephiroth goes crazy after finding out that he's part alien, Cloud Strife, who at this point is a 16-year-old wet behind the ears infantryman, the type who would get killed 5 minutes into any self-respecting war movie, he manages to wound Sephiroth so severely that Sephiroth ends up in a coma for years. The self-professed greatest warrior on Earth loses to someone who is basically a level 0 NPC at this point. Years later, Sephiroth gets the opportunity for a rematch against the guy who put him on the train to Coma Town. So, what's Sephiroth's ultimate trump card? When he pulls out all the stops and really gets down to business, what does that look like? Well, at the end of FF7, he yanks Cloud away from his friends and has a showdown with him in some weird mystical pocket dimension. The result is a battle which is literally impossible to lose. There is actually no way that Sephiroth can possibly win this fight. You can literally put your controller on the ground, leave the game running, and go on vacation for a week. And when you come back, he'll still be waiting for you to deliver the single attack that will mercifully end his ridiculous and failed attempt at godhood. The developers of the FF7 sequel film Advent Children have stated that Sephiroth believes he cannot lose to Cloud, despite the fact that he does over and over again. They also state that his strength has dramatically increased between the end of FF7 and the beginning of Advent Children, but Cloud still manages to kill him by himself after just a few minutes of fighting, using the exact same attack he used to kill him at the end of FF7. In the end, this is basically a match between lawful evil and chaotic evil. We could argue back and forth about which of these guys is marginally more powerful, but really think about their mental states and what the implication of those states are. Sephiroth is a soldier, and has been trained as such his whole life. When he has a problem or a goal, his whole methodology is to march straight toward it and brute force his way to victory. We see this happen every time he fights Cloud. Sephiroth always insists on the duel of giant impractical swords, despite the fact that he has never once beaten Cloud this way. He keeps doing it because it's all he knows. Now, look at Kefka. Kefka is chaotic evil incarnate. When the walled city of Doma refuses to surrender, he poisons the whole damn city. When General Leo turns traitor and attempts to attack Kefka, Kefka lures him into wasting his energy attacking an illusion and then stabs him in the back. Kefka is wily, unpredictable, and utterly sociopathic. Sephiroth is a potential threat to Kefka, but he's a threat that's extremely predictable, knowable, and easy to plan around. On the other hand, Kefka is a threat to Sephiroth that Sephiroth can't hope to predict, much less adapt to. No jaunty Final Fantasy victory music for Sephiroth. Today, it'll be Kefka jumping up and down in place.
I appreciate what you're doing here and kind of trying to, get me into the fighting game spirit here, Dan, and phrasing your argument that way.
Well, I do what I can.
I just want you to know that I see you doing that. It's all right.
I'm Adam.
These arguments sure sound better than the screams of the people of Mystara as they flee for their lives. It's time for rebuttals, so we will start with Team Sephiroth. Team Sephiroth, you have the floor.
Okay, first you talk about how Sephiroth is too arrogant and he thinks he's the best. Yes, he does, but there's a good reason for that. First of all, he is the best. And also, he still respects people that he thinks deserves his respect. If you don't, then he doesn't give a shit about you. He knows he can beat you. Also, you talk about how, Kefka's unpredictable and stuff. Yeah, he is, and that's part of what makes him, a shitty deity. There's a part at the end of Final Fantasy VI where the party goes up to Kefka, and Kefka's like, oh, look at all the power I have. Smite, blah, blah, blah. And the party's like, no, we will not bow down to you because you're a shitty, omnipotent being. I don't know. And
you can say God, it's okay. I already said
I
that.
appreciate that, Liz. I appreciate you staying firm on this. Don't give in to Miles.
and
Totally gonna give it to Miles, just FYI.
Wasting your own time.
So when the Final Fantasy VI party rejects him, Kefka goes absolutely insane, and that is the start of his downward spiral. Now, what did I just say about what Sephiroth does? If he doesn't respect you, which he won't respect this clown, I'm sorry, your wardrobe is awful. That will drive Kefka insane, and that will be his downfall. That is what started the whole fight at the end, where he was like going crazy. Plus his, special attacks or whatever, you were talking about his tower and stuff. He's not going to have a tower on wherever the fuck we are. I don't even remember. He's not going to have that tower. And he's not going to be able to cast his super powerful Light of Judgment, since that energy originates from the top of his tower and is one of his most powerful tools in his arsenal. And there's no evidence of it even striking anywhere when he says it will, so he's full of empty promises, because his tower just hasn't upgraded to space yet. Sorry.
All right.
Okay, we got like 3 points wrapped up here.
I'm gonna go ahead and cast slow on Liz.
Yeah.
You said that Sephiroth correctly believes himself to be the most powerful warrior on his world. Again, given the fact that level 0 Cloud Strife was able to take him out, I don't necessarily think that that's the case. But even if it was, Kefka's not from his world. This is a dude who committed genocide on a race of magical beings and stole their powers. Sephiroth has never done anything approaching that level of power and destruction.
Oh, you mean creating a freaking disease?
Yeah, geostigma, and he also freaking cast Meteor, and he fought his little group of heroes while holding back Holy, an amazingly powerful spell that was like meant to oppose Meteor. You think Kefka's so freaking great? Seeing all and smiting cities, that didn't keep him safe from the heroes that killed him. And also, Afghan hounds are beautiful. What the fuck?
And also, like I said before, he's not going to have access to Light of Judgment, and he won't have time to even cast Forsaken because it needs all that time to charge. And again, Sephiroth is known for being super fast, and you only need 8 strikes. Hello, he has a skill named Octaslash to take out Kefka with his super powerful sword.
Just because you suck at playing Dissidia doesn't mean Kefka gonna win this,
Okay,
man.
all right. You guys have to let us talk here.
I mean, the tower is just a pile of rocks as far as I know. I'm pretty sure the Light of Judgment was his own power, but I could be wrong about that. You say that Sephiroth won't respect him? Great, that means he's going to underestimate him. Lovely.
But that's also the reason Kefka is going to go on his downward spiral, is because he knows he doesn't get the respect from Sephiroth. That's what his undoing was.
He's already there, man. You're not going to destabilize Kefka.
The Octaslash thing you're talking about, what you're talking about is an obscure glitch that you can use in FF6. When you dummy 2 Ultima weapons in FF6 and then dual wield them, and then equip those to your entire party, you can effectively use that to kill Kefka in like a single round. I will also point out, there is a non-glitch in FF7 where if you use the summoned creature Knights of the Round on Sephiroth, you can kill him in one hit. And the Knights of the Round is basically a big group of summoned creatures that comes out, sort of like the giant group of summoned creatures that Kefka fought when he attacks the town of Thamasa. Their attacks bounce off of him. He absorbs all of them, and he can then use their power, meaning he can send the same level of power as the Knights of the Round, if not significantly more, at Sephiroth, which in and of itself, again, can kill him in one hit.
So I know about the glitch you're talking about, but as I said in my opening arguments, Masamune, according to Final Fantasy lore, is as powerful or more powerful than an Ultima weapon. There's no glitch being committed here, and Sephiroth has an attack that hits 8 times, which is what is needed. What I'm saying is he already has the weapons. There is no glitch. And, as I said before, in Kefka's final form, arguably his most powerful form, he has to use Heartless Angel as his first attack, always. That's just him being full of himself, being a narcissist. So Sephiroth is going to use that opening to do what he needs to do with his weapon. There's no glitch.
Any final points?
Yes. My final point is you keep bringing up how level 0 Cloud took on Sephiroth. Cloud could only beat Sephiroth because Sephiroth was his idol. He analyzed everything Sephiroth ever did. Plus, Sephiroth was a person who was affecting Cloud emotionally. Sephiroth was fucking up the planet, directly affecting Cloud and his family and friends. That emotional attachment is what gave Cloud the power to eventually defeat him.
You were just saying that Sephiroth was going to piss off Kefka. I would say that's emotionally affecting him.
Yeah, but there is nothing like that in this fight because Kefka's crazy. He doesn't give a shit about anyone. There is no emotion there. That emotional attachment with Cloud, that's...
Friendship is magic, dude. That's what that game is.
Okay.
So even in like games like Kingdom Hearts where Sephiroth is a boss, he's always saying like, no one can beat me, only Cloud can beat me. He's the only one that even has a chance. Kefka just doesn't have that powerful motivator in this fight. But to Sephiroth, Kefka is something he really wants to take care of. He has a huge motivator in this fight because it's his destiny to rule the world. Kefka is just the umpteenth roadblock in the way, which he'll stop at nothing to defeat.
Okay, Liz, I have to stop
Yes.
you. Team Kefka, brief response if you'd care to give one.
You guys mentioned that Sephiroth has several attacks which will reduce an enemy to 1 HP. He also has a supernova attack which deals damage equal to 15/16 of your current HP, meaning that it's designed to take you real super low. That's called gravity damage. Any kind of damage where you reduce an enemy's HP to a certain amount, or when you reduce it by a fraction as opposed to an absolute number, that's gravity damage. And that is something which Final Fantasy bosses are immune to. So any attack like that Sephiroth tries to pull on Kefka, Kefka will not be affected by it at all.
Okay.
Whereas
So,
Kefka's abilities...
you have a rebuttal
Oh, do we?
coming up.
Oh, okay,
You're
sorry.
right.
I thought this was our...
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Miles. I thought that was our rebuttal round.
No,
Oh,
that
that's
was-
never
my
how
bad.
it works.
it is now time for the Kefka rebuttal.
Okay,
so
great.
Go for it.
Okay, great.
And be aware that I'm going to stop you and give them ample time to respond.
Well, yeah. The only thing I was going to throw, and you guys can respond to that in just a second, was that most of Kefka's attacks, like, Ultima and stuff, just do straight damage, which Sephiroth, also being a Final Fantasy boss, will not be immune to.
He has incredible defense. Way higher than Kefka's if you just, look at their straight stats.
Those are in Final Fantasy VII numbers, and that's, inflation between games, I mean, back in 19...
It is what it is.
90,
back in the good old days.
Back in early 90s HP. I mean, one of Kefka's HP is worth so much as Sephiroth's HPs. You don't even know.
I mean, at the end of the day, Sephiroth is faster. He can just get more attacks out faster. And haste is super effective against Kefka. Sephiroth is the fastest motherfucker ever.
The thing is, he has to know where Kefka is. And as we've seen, Kefka is able to produce illusions that are so realistic that General Leo thought he was fighting and being injured by Kefka when he was fighting it. Sephiroth has to know what he's attacking to use that great speed of his.
Sephiroth can also use illusions, just so you know.
I'm sure Leo knew after he got off his friggin' butt and stood up and decided to fight someone. God.
Okay, so
General Leo's
is
great. He shoots lightning out of his sword and stuff. You keep on talking about him like he has a cool mohawk and a cool jacket and he shoots lightning out of his sword. Leo's awesome, man. You talked about Kefka being weak for questioning. He had the weird existential crisis. Yeah, that's because he took over the world and then started having an existential crisis. Sephiroth never even got to that point. Maybe if Sephiroth ever took over the world, he would then start to get to the point where he could have an existential crisis.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because when the heroes kill Sephiroth, there's not a lot that really happens as a direct result of that. There's the whole thing with Meteor and Holy, but that was set into motion beforehand. When the heroes finally manage to pull out a win and kill Kefka, magic flat out vanishes from the world. That's the sort of power level he's rolling with. He was supporting the existence of magic just by being alive.
No, he just absorbed it all. I mean, it kind of makes sense in that bullshit Final Fantasy way. Gotta love it.
How did he absorb it? It was because he killed an entire race, then he went and absorbed the power of the 3 gods who created that race, and then he enslaved those 3 gods to serve him as servants. Sephiroth, spends 2/3 of the game in an ice cube, and then fails at his one thing that he tries to do.
Yeah, fucking Aerith. Should have stabbed her spirit. Fucking bitch.
Fucking Eris indeed.
The fact that a freaking ragtag group of people were able to take down your so-called amazing, powerful god.
Yeah, not so much.
What a shitty god! Sephiroth still, exists in the ether, and he's around because he's, in the very life stream of the planet. He can pop up anytime, anywhere. Kefka extinguished all magic, so guess what? He's not getting resurrected anytime soon. He's done. He's a one-hit wonder. He's lame.
You're right. Kefka has this lame ragtag group of heroes that opposes him, whereas Sephiroth has enemies such as Cat Sith, who is a cat riding on a Moogle, and Yuffie, who is a super annoying teenager.
Hey,
Dan,
we would have teenage
Dan,
fans, Dan.
I will have order. Dan, you're out of line. When you start making fun of Kate Sith, you're out of
Thank you,
line.
Miles.
Okay?
Thank
I don't even play fucking video games, and I loved Kate Sith.
I didn't realize this was the hill you were going to die on in this match, Miles.
You know what?
Miles?
I have to draw from the only experience I have.
Miles, I have so much respect for you this match, and I can't eat it.
At the end of the day, you guys opened with the fact that he burned a friggin' building, he poisoned some water, big whoop. He doesn't compare to the raw power and determination that Sephiroth has. I mean, this guy, he'll break. Someone says, oh, hey, I think you don't have a matching sock. That's Kefka.
If we are fighting Kefka, post 6, we are, he's currently a nihilistic mess. He's at his weakest mentally. Sephiroth is the same cool cucumber that will fuck up his bag of cats.
Yeah, the same cool cucumber who failed at what he set out to do, whereas Kefka's the dude who succeeded in destroying the world he set out to destroy.
No,
But
he wants to
didn't
destroy
destroy it.
everything.
He said he wanted to destroy everything. He only ended up basically destroying magic when he died. The world was fine. The heroes got out scot-free.
The world was fine. In the world of Ruin, when you're walking around, a lot of the enemies that you fight start off the fight being poisoned, and after one round of fighting them, they just die. Because that's how fucked up the world is.
It still existed, though. He did not do his goal of destroying everything. That was his goal.
If Aerith wasn't fucking there, bitch, then Meteor would have destroyed the world. And then Sephiroth would have a cool spaceship.
All right. That's it, guys. We're done with rebuttals.
Sir, yes, sir.
These arguments are they're just scorching, guys. Scorching. Just like the earth, sky, and residents of the known world. But, I might have been lying a little bit when I said all of the magic items were gone. See, there's this one wand left with one charge, and I'm about to use that charge to call forth the lightning round!
The wand of lightning round.
That's right. Fucking major relic, bitches.
And there was much rejoicing.
As this fight drags on, Mystara is just getting more and more fucked. And finally, somebody in the angelic hierarchy realizes that these two assholes aren't serving their assigned time over in Malibu Comics vs. Square Enix. And the gods intervene to reclaim the souls of Kefka and Sephiroth, saving the life of Mystara's last living zero-level innkeeper in the process. Clearly, being consigned to a fighting game wasn't bad enough for you people, so now your true punishment begins. You are hereby damned to the bottomless pit of Madden.
Oh no.
Yes!
It's not an arcade game, so there's no escape from this one. Kefka and Sephiroth must now spend all eternity as video game quarterbacks in the game of digital football, forever chasing imaginary Super Bowl rings. Your magic powers are gone, but you still possess all your standard physical and mental attributes. Which thoroughly chastised villain would make the best quarterback, keeping in mind the ideal quarterback traits: accuracy, toughness, elusiveness, mental alertness, leadership, and competitiveness? Tip of the pen to Gil Brandt of NFL.com. Is your character a cannon-armed big play guy who goes for a Hail Mary every game? Or is he a read-option quarterback who runs the ball into the end zone himself? Bonus points if any of you nerds can actually name an NFL team, and if so, explain why your character would play for that team.
Well, I can do half that.
You guys are going first, right?
That is correct. Since Team Sephiroth went first in opening arguments and rebuttals, Team Kefka will be going first in the lightning round.
All right. Let's think about teams first. Well, I mean, Kefka does become a divine being, so would we say that he would join the Saints?
I was thinking maybe the Titans.
Yeah, that was the other one.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, the Saints of what city and the Titans of what state?
You got us. No,
I mean,
no,
I was thinking Tennessee Titans.
Tennessee Titans, and yeah,
seeing as
New
that's
Orleans
the
Saints.
okay,
that is correct.
Saints.
And New Orleans Saints is
you did
correct.
it.
Good job. All right.
All right.
For you guys.
I think that Kefka is going to be fond of being a wildcat quarterback. Well, he will a lot of the time just hike the ball to himself and just charge for it because he's super agile and knows that that's going to catch people off guard. But he will, of course, also hand stuff off to running backs and that sort of thing. He might actually, in fact, hand a ball off to a running back and then start running forward as though he is running a wildcat play, when in fact he is not, because that's the kind of crazy motherfucker that Kefka is.
Colin, where the fuck is this coming from? This is awesome.
Yeah, you listed a bunch of qualities that a good quarterback is supposed to have, Miles. I would argue that one of the best and probably most underrated abilities of a quarterback is to be unpredictable. If you know the exact play that your opposition is going to be playing, you can essentially negate their entire play. No one is going to be able to see what Kefka does.
So you're saying Kefka would be good at calling audibles at the line of scrimmage and changing up the play at the last minute?
Maybe?
Yes, Dan. Yes, you are.
Oh, yeah.
I've watched football.
100%. So basically what's going to end up happening is by the time Kefka retires with, many millions of dollars that he will squander away within the first year and probably some pretty intense brain trauma that's not going to surface for another 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, who the fuck's going to notice?
But maybe it'll restore him to normalcy. But by the time that happens, there will be so many different techniques that Kefka will have pioneered that they'll all be named after him. And pulling a Kefka is going to mean 16 different things. Does it mean dressing up another member of the team to look like you while you dress up as them in order to confuse everyone? Maybe.
I think it means poisoning the enemy's Gatorade.
Yeah. Yeah, it means setting the enemy's mascot on fire. That's pulling a Kefka.
All right. Team Sephiroth.
Do you want to say anything before I go ham?
No, go for. Well, I mean, I was basically gonna say he was made for this, being a soldier. But go ahead.
Do you have any teams you'd want him to play for?
I don't fucking know. There's no fucking one-winged angels.
I'm so glad Colin was on the other side of this and knew his shit, because I had kind of a feeling that Liz might have an advantage in this.
Sephiroth would, as much as this pains me to be saying this, the Patriots at the height of their amazing power when they kept winning championships over and over and over and over, because
So like last year.
he's the champion for the planet, as the Patriots are, super patriotic for the US. But anyways, let's get to his
Go
skills.
Shinra.
Yeah, let's get to the Shinra Patriots. Let's get to his skills as an actual quarterback. Sephiroth is every team owner's quarterback dream. He would totally be the first pick of whatever draft. He is super freaking tall, so his field awareness would be through the roof. He's used to holding a freaking 7-foot sword, so you can only imagine how on point he's going to be with his throws, where his arm is basically just an extension. He's used to dealing with that with his sword. And plus, Sephiroth does not play well with other people, so he's going to be running that ball himself. And since he's so slim, he's going to be slipping through that defensive line. He won't need to set up any kind of screen, blah, blah, blah. He'll just be slipping through. He'll be running the ball constantly. He's
Until a member of the other team steps on his hair.
That is actually a possibility. He'll have to... I don't know how he's going to work that into the helmet, but we'll figure it out.
Can he put it in a bun or
Nonetheless,
something?
You know what? If Clay Matthews can do it, then he can pull it off. I'm hearing Sephiroth is kind of the Russell Wilson of Final Fantasy.
There you go.
Right now.
He's I don't know. He's just really good. He fits everything for the quarterback. I mean, he may not be 225 pounds, but he's lithe. He's super, super fast. He'll be running the ball. And plus, when he needs to, he's going to be throwing those Hail Marys. He's got that perfect arm, that perfect bod, that perfect field awareness. That's exactly what you need for a passing quarterback, to be able to see who the hell you're passing to. He's so freaking tall. Nothing's going to be in his way.
Yo, for real though, he gonna sell out all the tickets, send those ratings through the roof, because everyone with a libido, I don't give a fuck what your goddamn sexuality is, everyone gonna be watching that ass.
Is he gonna do watch ads like Tom Brady too?
Why the fuck not? I'll see it.
I mean, the uniforms, I will say, will complement Sephiroth better than the clown.
This has been a thrilling episode of Smash Fiction so far, but I just realized that I can't render a verdict on this match until I have reached my final form.
Yes.
So I have to go do that, which I don't play these games, so I assume it involves drugs. So just give me a few seconds here, a few minutes, and I shall return momentarily with my decision. Continue arguing / talking amongst yourselves.
Lay off the moose tranquilizers.
Will do.
I
Thank
think
you.
All that Miles has to do is put on a loincloth, straighten his hair, and then attach some fake angel wings to his back. So.
Okay, so what is Miles' final form called? Curmudgeon Miles?
Oh, I like that.
That's not his current form.
Oh, you're right.
Aww.
So in preparation for this, I was playing Final Fantasy VI through again. Kit, I named Realm after you. She's a little girl, and she draws, and she likes animals. And
Her power is that her drawings come to life.
Yeah.
Like she's a mage.
Oh,
And
yeah.
like
I played a character like that in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, a game of Don't Rest Your Head that I ran. The other thing is, I forgot this about her, but the first thing that she does after you name her is there's Shadow, who's the badass ninja guy, and he has a dog named Interceptor, who's always been kind of cold and growling at stuff, and she just walks up and starts petting him, and totally, and Shadow's he doesn't normally like people. But, so
Yeah, that's Kid all right.
No, I don't do that to dogs. I do it to reptiles.
that's fair. Yeah. Miles was, of course, named after Strago, who's the bitter old man.
Grumpy old man.
Yep.
Who did you name after Liz? Was it Umaro the Yeti? When we were talking about, these characters in football, I believe there's a game. Well, I think it was called Fortune Street in the US, but I believe it's called Itadaki Street Special or something like that in Japan, where some of the characters are from Final Fantasy,
That's
including
correct.
Sephiroth. And it's sort of like a Mario Party type game, but I'm pretty sure they play basketball at some point. So,
Sephiroth would be good at that too.
oh man, he can
dunk.
dunk like nobody's business.
Hold on. Sephiroth in sport.
Oh man, I want that. I thought I loved that Looney Tunes basketball game when I was a kid.
Yeah,
I need to get this.
They need to make more Final Fantasy themed sports games.
Seriously.
Colin, do you remember Mega Man Soccer?
Oh, do I ever? Yeah.
Yeah, that was a quality sports game. Although at the time, because I remember we had only been playing Mega Man X, and so I had no emotional attachment to those characters at the time.
I'm not gonna search this stuff anymore.
Liz, did you just randomly do an image search with Sephiroth?
Yep, that's done.
Oh,
Yep.
you poor fool! You
That's it.
poor sweet innocent.
That's it.
You sweet summer child, Liz.
That's it.
Dude, I lost so many days of research just doing that.
Just looking at images.
Me too.
That is a rabbit hole from which there is no return.
No, you should have seen me with Black Cat and Catwoman also sent me down such a deep hole.
So this was pretty hard, guys. I gotta be honest. I know almost nothing about these characters, and I care less. But I still was really intrigued by the arguments that you guys were able to muster, and I think that this match was one of our better showcases of does unpredictability and chaos and just madness and just the crazy fuckers who you don't even know what they're gonna do. Does that trump calm, cool collectedness, calmness, and competence and ability? And I'm not saying Kefka doesn't have ability, and I'm not saying Sephiroth isn't fucking insane. But they are very different types of insane, and they possess very different types of ability. And when it comes down to a one-on-one fight between them, Dan, you mentioned alignments. We're talking lawful evil against chaotic evil here, and based on the arguments I heard tonight, I believe the edge in that case goes to lawful evil.
What?
So I'm going to have to give this match to Team Sephiroth.
Son of a submariner.
Yay! That was so close. You guys,
It
guys
was
did
extremely
such a good
close.
job. I was like, oh, I forgot to make the amazing point that Sephiroth uses a fuck ton of shampoo and conditioner that has 13 different perfumes in it. That would distract Kefka. I found that shit.
You know, I
Trivia.
think we're ignoring the bigger point, which Miles got really close to. This was a match of Batman versus the Joker. It was like a
Yeah,
I would not
basically.
call Sephiroth Batman.
He wears a long cloak. He's super lawful, and he's really calm and collected next to Kefka's utter madness.
It's just on the other side
I
of the
think
spectrum.
that's what I'm
yeah.
saying in the end, is that I think, no matter how crazy and unpredictable you are, no matter how wacky your laugh is as you slaughter people, I still think that the calm, collected, ruthless person who takes you down to 1 HP with a single hit is going to win the day.
It actually turns out that Kefka had disguised himself as Sephiroth the whole time. So we still win! Yay!
Oh no, you killed a Genova clone. You didn't actually.
Hey, Miles.
Yeah.
So Batman may have won this time, but you know who beat Batman last time?
Wait. Is it Doom?
All right, you're out of my life forever, Liz. All right, so some more thanks to give this week. You guys have been so talkative, so sweet. On Twitter, our good old buddy Sam Ruiz at Samaconda retweeted our Danny versus Mordor match. Thank you so much. As did a good sir named Flo. Goodberry Smoothies, second take.
Which is the best name, by the way.
Yeah,
Good
Goodberry
Berry
Smoothies.
Smoothies for a D&D thing. It's so good.
Second take and Law and Disorder, all podcasts by Sancy Weber. Also retweeted Danny Mordor. They said they were huge fans of our accents as well. I hope you mean our boring American accents or the terrible offensive accents that Liz does.
I think we know.
I think they're just fans of my Dothraki accent from the Daenerys versus Mordor episode.
Somebody had to be.
Yep. Wasn't me.
I just got to listen to that episode and not be a part of it, and that was very enjoyable for me.
Oh, good.
You guys all did a lovely job.
Gameable also mentioned us. We gotta have Gameable back on. We'll figure it out. It's gonna be maybe not too far in the future. Our good old friend at Paladin Today complimented Danny Mordor as well. Thank you so much. On Tumblr, By Forge and Fire reblogged several links to our episodes. They say, you guys, first of all, if you're not listening to Smash Fiction, what the fuck are you doing with your lives? Second, they totally thanked me for reblogging their episode in this episode.
Well, there you go.
Aww.
Another one for you.
Another. Okay, it's just going to be like if if two mirrors are facing each other, just forever thanks.
It's a Matryoshka doll of mutual thanks.
So if you won't do it for the gloriously articulate hosts, I don't know about that, the razor sharp banter, the battles of strength or wits or doom. Of literally all your favorite fictional characters, or even for fucking dragons, not just dragons, fucking dragons.
Yep.
Please go and listen for me as a thanks to one of my favorite podcasts.
Aw.
That's really, really sweet.
That's really nice.
I also have to read Cholwizard says they are now shipping Sauron, parentheses handsome mode, with Daenerys as ultimate high fantasy power couple.
Yeah.
They will walk the red carpet and adopt orc babies in need from third world realms. That's so sweet.
I think that eventually all of our matches, regardless of their previous gender or orientation or anything, always end up together.
This
no
one
Kefka.
definitely did.
No, no.
Oh, yeah, no.
This for me. Just one more shout out on Facebook to Anton for sharing Daenerys Mordor as well. Thank you, Anton. We miss.
Yes.
Love you, Anton.
We wish you weren't so busy all the time so that you could come back on the show. We have a new iTunes review this week, and this one is actually our second international iTunes review.
Nice.
So this one comes from the UK, our first one from the UK.
the UK,
Oh,
Thank you,
Jesus.
Liz. Our first and last one from the UK.
Sorry, chat.
It is titled One of My Favorites, 5 stars, from username Butthurt About Gandalf.
You're not the only one.
I'm sorry.
Oh, man, I'm so sorry I let you down.
The review reads, even though one of my favorite fictional heroes lost to a floppy-wanded Dementor buggerer,
Oh, this guy's great.
I still love this podcast, including the Extraordinary League stuff. Looking forward to more. Thanks. Personally, I think that Dumbledore is very virile, and what he chooses to do with Dementors in the privacy of his own home is, of course, entirely his business, and no one else.
Oh, God.
I'm sorry. He's like.
I mean, they're really good at
130.
sucking,
How
though.
virile do you think he is?
Close that door. Stop.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Smash Fiction. Next week, Malcolm Reynolds versus Han Solo.
Smash Fiction is produced by Miles Schneiderman, with logo designed by Colin Mulcairn.
Special thanks to Kevin MacLeod for our theme song, which is called Hitman. You can find his work at www.incompetech.com.
You can follow the Smash Fiction podcast on Twitter at SmashFicPodcast and search for us on Facebook and Tumblr.
Subscribe on iTunes, and if you leave us a good review, we shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
If you have any suggestions, feedback, or other contributions, send them to us at smashfictionpodcast@gmail.com and help us continue the fight.
Even though gravity damage doesn't work against Kefka. Sorry.
Doesn't matter. Swords do. Stab, stab, stab. Shish kebab. UN Aerith.
Do you think that Sephiroth is in fact more physically attractive than Tom Brady?
Yes. Ew, Tom
Fuck
Brady.
yes.
All right. Interesting line of argument.
Kefka's supposed to be in the mascot
Okay.
suit. Sorry, any mascot suit people.